As you can see in the background, you see there's no mattress on the bed and no books on the shelf, all that sort of stuff. I am back in Pennsylvania to pick up the rest of my stuff. Most of it's packed in the car, very tightly in the car. And yeah, it's the last stretches before I move. I am moving right now, but I will be by the end of July or early August, definitely by the first week of August, I will be in California. So please keep me in prayer. I'm hoping to have ordination come by soon, hopefully sometime in July, but we will see what happens. Could be July, could be November. But that's just a little update. I'm not in my collar right now because I've been moving. And actually, my collar is right here, in my shirt over there. But yeah. So, I am trying to still maintain at least one video a week. So the video today that I wanted to do is, I think, important. I think I've touched on it before in other videos, but I want to emphasize it. So I was watching last night a video done by a relatively prominent, popular Christian YouTuber who does a lot of apologetics work, especially sort of defense against sort of atheism and giving sort of basic Christianity 101. Now he's coming from I think he's Calvary Chapel. So he's coming from a very American evangelical background, which is, there are goods and bads with that. There's a lot I agree with on evangelicals, and there's a lot I disagree with. Anyway, the point is that the video he did was on Roman Catholicism, which obviously I'm not a Roman Catholic. And he was going through the beliefs of the Roman Catholic faith, and he touched on the seven sacraments. And I first want to preface this by saying probably about 75% of the critiques he gave against Rome I agreed with fully, and then probably 20 I would be like, yeah, but there's an asterisk there. So, all in all, pretty good. And it's not something I would definitely sort of like say don't watch. But if I were to recommend it to someone concerning Roman Catholicism, I'd say take it with a grain of salt. Anyway, and it was done very cordially too, not very polemical at all. But, however, he, in his talk concerning the sacraments, he goes over the Eucharist, and he spends quite a bit of time on the Eucharist. And there were a lot of issues I had. Most of the problems I had with his stuff had to do with holy orders, clergy, the priesthood, and with the Eucharist. So he comes from a symbolic only position, and so I heard the sort of standard arguments of do this in remembrance of me means it's only a symbol, all that sort of stuff. And that obviously I disagree, but that is what it is. However, he made an argument that I've seen done on a popular level by people, not by theologians often though, and I think for good reason. Now, that's not to say you won't find this historically done. I think in fact you'll find even worse done, but well, at least as bad. Anyway, the point is, he makes an argument that John chapter 6, verses 52 through 58, when Jesus is talking about, truly, truly, I tell you, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you, that sort of stuff. His argument was that you can't take that literally, and in fact, you can only take it symbolically because Jesus says in verse 63, and I'll read it. So John chapter 6, verse 63, of course I'm using the King James. It is written, it says, it is the Spirit, this is Jesus, it is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. And he focuses on the point, the flesh profiteth nothing, on verse 63. Now, there is a very, very, very big problem with this. I don't recall him connecting the dots quite so explicitly, and I think they're kind of thankfully, but he uses this as an argument to say, well, it's only a symbol. But the ramifications of that is that if you are claiming that Jesus says, truly, truly, I tell you, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you, and you're saying that can't be literal because in verse 63 it says the flesh profiteth nothing, well, what flesh are you claiming that Jesus is talking about in verse 63. So for me, I would say verse 63, it's saying, your own power, your own flesh cannot profit you anything. The Spirit has to quicken you. So that's what I would hold to. Well, the words of Jesus are spirit and they are life, contextually. So it's the words of Jesus that quicken rather than your own flesh is the point. But if you are taking it to mean that Jesus is talking about his own flesh, you see the problem now? If we're saying that Jesus is flesh, or if Jesus is saying that his own flesh doesn't profit anything, then what has to be said to be consistent is that Jesus does not need to incarnate. The incarnation does not need to happen. The physical death of Christ, the shedding of his blood, does not need to happen because he does not need to have flesh and blood. In fact, it doesn't do anything. So it's not only that it didn't need to happen, it's that it profits nothing. So Jesus' incarnation, his very physical death, profits nothing because you have to have that with like the flesh and all that. So, and I'm not giving the name of the apologist if you noticed. Probably you could guess if you know enough apologetics, YouTube apologists and all. And again, I have a lot of respect for him, but this is an argument that I see mostly today done by sort of lay people rather than people who've sort of studied and studied the theology of Eucharistic theology and all that sort of stuff. So I just wanted to point that out. Please, evangelicals, do not use John 6:63, the phrase in there saying the flesh profits nothing. Please do not use that as an argument to say that Jesus' flesh profits nothing, because that's the only way it would fit. Because what we're saying is that John 6:52 through 58 is talking about the flesh and blood of Jesus that we are supposed to eat. So we're saying that. But then if you're saying, well, no, it can't mean that because Jesus says the flesh profits nothing, what you're saying is, well, you're saying the flesh and blood of Jesus profits something, but no, because verse 63 says it doesn't. And that's a problem. That is actually, I would say, blasphemous. So obviously I don't think that the apologist who did this video was being any sort of, I don't think he was, I don't want to put intentions to him, but I don't think he had any sort of ill intentions. I think he was just putting this out as an argument, and whether or not he thought through it fully, he just thought it worked. So I would encourage him to think this over. I'm actually sending him this video. But yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much. If you like what I'm doing here, despite the lower quality, please like and subscribe and all that jazz.